Good evening all, this is Trader72. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like. Might as well start with that one. And I hope you're well on this fine Monday. For some of you who may have missed my first show this morning, I kind of reiterated a little bit on the news of the weekend and Monday morning. And it's been a pleasant afternoon this afternoon, actually, to a point. We are back in the green. Oh, yeah, indeed. So a little bit of happiness there. It's pretty cloudy and horrible here in London at the moment. Spitting a little bit. I just went out for a tad few minutes to have a bit of a walk and to get some stuff at the shops. And I got, it was starting to spit, so not very nice here in London. But we are coming up to that time of the day, UK side, where we have a quick recap on today's markets. Now, a couple of changes I'm about to let you know. I'm probably going to go down to one show a day. I think it will make it easier for me to condense everything in the evening show, or more towards the latter part of the day, where I can recap on news and do analysis and so forth. Now, I may well split my recap of the day, so do a kind of a simple recap day, news, companies, portfolio, where I'm up to, and also a couple of extra, which I will drop along the week. One of them will be 5 stocks that I'm tracking currently and why they could be a buy. So obviously, this is only my own honest opinion and my own analysis. Please do make your own homework and due diligence before you buy in. I'm not here to tell you how to buy. This is just advisory only on how my system works. So it's really a recap of the companies I'm tracking at the moment. I've mentioned them, I think, quite a few times. I think we're looking at, obviously some of the companies that we're looking at in terms of UNH, Microsoft, Uber, Visa as well, which I've looked at a few times, and Sprout Farmers. So these are the 5 that I feel at the moment are in the ballpark. Intrinsically, in terms of the actual real price, the true market price of the stocks, and the MOS, which I call the margin of safety, and why the company are why they are, what a little bit more analysis in terms of their numbers, why they qualify into that ballpark. And it just gives you an overall idea of some of the issues maybe those stocks are going through at the moment. And like we say, there's always just kind of match the story to the actual price, the share price. So I'm not saying they're an absolute buy. They're not automatically for everybody, but these will give you an idea of what I think they could be worth a look at. But we'll do that completely separate program, which will hopefully drop in the next few days. So compiling that as we speak now and prepping that up at the moment. So without further ado, we've already had a bit of a chat about this morning's news. I don't think there's a lot in terms of further news at this moment in time, but let's just look at the basic takeaways at the moment. So stocks do rebound, and I'm going to come to that in a minute in terms of charts and where we're at with the S&P and the Nasdaq. At the moment, the stocks are definitely rebounding in the green. The last I looked at, which was about 5-10 minutes ago. So why is the question? So there's been a few situations that's been arising. So Donald Trump. First of all, Donald Trump is calling on NATO to help to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which at the moment they are showing reluctance, apparently. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. There has been obviously some ships China have singled out by Trump, apparently suggesting that he would scrap their planned summit if they don't help out with the Strait of Hormuz. Some of their ships apparently, and Indian ships as well, from India, obviously, have been let through. So there is a bottleneck of obviously whoever's involved in the war, i.e. US ships and probably European ships, but it seems that they're letting all the Chinese and Indian ships through. So there is some kind of oil coming through, obviously, in terms of barrels through the strait at this moment. So I think we'll have to see where that goes. At the moment, it seems that Brent crude is running locked around the 100 to 103 zone. It hasn't increased at this moment or decreased that much either. So I think it's a bit of a stalemate at the moment of what's going on and what will be happening. Obviously, the IEA, which obviously is the body of the independent body of the oil world, is obviously released quite a few barrels, 400 million barrels last week, which did ease also the situation. Just reading through the rest of it, the Wall Street citing the European Union's top diplomats say the bloc is mulling over option to restart the shipping through the Strait of Hormuz by choking off most tankers' traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has effectively deprived large economies, especially in Europe and Asia, as mentioned, of key sources of energy. So that's where we are at the moment. So there seemed to be a little bit of like I said, a stalemate. Some ships are going by, some ain't, but it looks like we're trying to find a solution to this problem and this bottleneck, even, should I say, in the Straits. So hopefully that may well ease the price of oil down, which is obviously I am, in for at the moment, as I've shorted crude oil to go back to, the 80s, 70s mark. Long way to go yet for me, but I'll come back to my current position and a little bit of news on that as well coming up. Brent crude's obviously whipsawed quite a lot, between $94 and $100 a barrel, up to about 106 at one stage this morning. Came back down after the news from the fact that there was obviously some release of new barrels and the ships were moving a tad, and that potentially NATO might be involved. So that's the recap of that. Next bit of news is Nvidia, obviously having their big conference this week. It will be interesting to see where Jensen Huang, obviously the CEO, will take the spotlight or not. The chipmakers annual developer conference beginning on Monday, with investors keen to see what the new offerings are. So there will be some new. I'm not an expert on the chips and to go into detail. There's other YouTubers that can probably do that analysis for you. But at this moment, it seems that could be something to watch out for if you are in buying into specifically tech AI companies. And obviously that will be interesting to see where that all goes at this moment. Central bank decision. Obviously, we've got the big Fed news coming up this week. Whether or not they will cut interest rate, which is very doubtful. I don't think that anybody's expecting that at this moment. I think we're looking at September rate cut. There is a potential now. Interestingly enough, something that maybe to mention. It looks like I've highlighted this quite big because that is quite interesting. Obviously, the FOMC, or the Federal Reserve, has earmarked a 2% inflation number, and it looks like at the moment that is nowhere near that. It's, I think, 2.4, 2.7 from CPI news last week. But now they're potentially looking at lifting inflation towards 3%. So I repeat, 3%. Without altering the path of core. Growth forecast will be pushed and pulled stronger incoming news. Q1 26 tracking at 3.25, and the coming energy prices shock drag. So I think they're starting to look at obviously the situation with the Middle East, and obviously oil moving up in price, which obviously is inflationary due to the lack of transport, obviously, and through the Strait at the moment, and around the world really, because it obviously affects quite a large amount of the world's crude oil, which I believe is 20 to 25% of crude oil goes through that strait. Unbelievable, isn't it, really? I've said it quite a few times. So I think, locking this in, I think 3% is something they'll be looking at. Whether or not they will go for the full 3% move, I'm not sure. Maybe they're just hedging their bets. Aren't we all at the moment, it seems? So obviously after the after hours, I think oil pricing will obviously be still in the shadows there. The dominant driver where the market go within the next 24 hours. And of course the FOMC on Wednesday is the main takeaway of what will happen then. Tech gains, geopolitical uncertainty, still enthusiasm. Tech stocks include Meta, and also Meta. Now, I've already mentioned this in the previous show this morning. I don't want to repeat myself. Meta obviously are looking at cutting their workforce, which means that obviously the stock went up 3% in pre-market this morning. So I haven't tracked it since, but I'm sure it's pretty much up at the same price. So, obviously some positive news from the tech world at the moment. It looks like tech and Nasdaq is certainly supporting this slight rebound today. And anyway, so that's pretty much it. So I think I've kind of pretty much, at the moment, newsworthy is where we're at the moment. So let's move forward to what's going on there. Just to recap again on further news at the moment. Meta gains 2.6%, reported plans to shrink 20% of its jobs. Not a great bit of news for whoever's working. I can feel for them. Lots of these people, a lot of people losing their jobs at the moment in any industry at the moment, including the film industry myself. So I can feel their pain. But by the same token, as an investor, if you're an investor of Meta, going up 3%. Dollar Tree, obviously retail, one of the big three in America in terms of shopping and retailing, up 6% after signaling tariff relief. So that is obviously better than expected on the back end of the tariffs from Trump. So that's up 6% currently in the market, which again is always positive for the S&P. Nvidia's conference obviously is ongoing. That's the main takeaways at the moment. So looking at the markets, as you will see, we are in the green today, and that is a bit of good news. We've had quite a few red days on the back end of last week, and it's nice to see that the market is slightly on the bounce. Now, how long will that last? Well, that your guess is as good as mine on that one. It seems like we have 1.15%, so that's 534 points up. The Nasdaq is up nearly 400 points at 1.6, so Nasdaq very much on the up at the moment. Now, let's have a quick check of my current portfolio. Now, on a bit of news, before I go into my portfolio, we are looking at an increase position in crude oil. Yes, people, I've increased my my position a tiny amount. Literally, I put £100 down deposit, which bought me another couple of thousand shares, 100,000 shares, 100 shares, I think, pretty much. So I'm now officially bought me 1,000 shares for £100. So now I am officially altogether at 2,872,000 shares for crude oil. Now, I felt it was worth it. That's the equivalent of 0.1 point for people that know how spread betting works. But all you guys need to know is I've bought more at this stage. That is the actual deposit there, initial £100 there at this moment. Actually, ironically, the price of for 0.2 point was at 92. So, sorry, not 92. What am I talking about? Apologies there. So if we look at the tickets, we are looking at a deposit of £100. That's right, yeah. So £100 at this stage. It's actually in the green right now. How long will that last? I don't know. But I felt it was the right time to buy again, due to the fact that I think it's $10 since I last bought it. I bought it at 92 and it was at 102.5. And I felt there was a nice little gap there for me to buy more. So if it was to fall back, it would add up to my position. And that's the whole idea of buying in small tranches as the stock price moves up or down, or in this instance, crude oil moves up or down. I would actually consider buying even more at $112, which will be the next $10 up from there. So I think, I feel like it's not exactly pushing the boat in terms of my margins anyway. I did say that, my margins are quite thin because I've actually heavily invested in S&P Global and Visa recently, and crude oil on top of that. Still got my Adobe position. So based on the amount I have in my account, that is just about right. And I can always add more for the £100 deposit, so that's actually pretty good. So because actually for every £100 I get 1,000 shares lent. So hedging my bets towards short still, and I thought that I would share that with you guys, that is added to the current position on crude oil. I'm pretty positive that crude oil will eventually, now how long for I don't know, come back down. Please do your due diligence if you are looking at moving in, as I am short. Short is always a difficult one. I'm more of a bull myself, what we call bull and not bear. And obviously bull being up and bear being down. But I really do feel this time that crude oil is quite high and expensive, and will, once the conflict does go into either a peace side or talks at least, or the strait is slightly deblocked, so to speak, or things happen there, the price will drop quite quickly. So I'm moving to the point where if it does move up now, I'm feeling quite positive about it. But just with a bit of good news today, you can see how oil just stagnates quite quickly and then moves a little bit more down, just on a bit of good news. So you imagine great news. Like I said, a lot of people going along on it, thinking that oil will pop to 120, 140. I'm not convinced. I think it might go up to 112, 115 at worst case scenario. But there again, with the markets, I've learned in the past, things can take you by surprise. But I've done enough research and a bit of my thesis on it, and I feel confident that it will come back down to at least the 80s mark, mid 80s. At this moment. So it's brought my average back down to $95 a barrel now, which is the whole point of buying extra tranches, that it does average down the price that you bought initially by about $3.50. So that, as you can see there, $95.74 on average. So there you go. So on another bit of good news, S&P Global has gone from being fairly much in the red around the 420s to 427.5. So that's put me back into just £28 loss, and actually being in the green on one of my tranches. Here we go, £54 in the green at the moment on one of my tranches there, which is the one I bought at 421, which is again the beauty of buying obviously dollar costing down on the stock. And I mean dollar costing is putting money every time the stock price drops within a certain point, maybe 2.5% to 5% down. So at the moment, that's looking, again, very much on the up a bit. Visa struggling to get anywhere at the moment, really. I mean, I can see, let's have a quick look at the chart. Visa really, as you can see there, is very much in an oversold. So I can't see that going anywhere fast. And I think MasterCard on this side there in a similar situation. Consumerism is struggling at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen with the situation with inflation going up due to the oil crisis. So we'll see where that goes at the moment. Uber had a good day, 2.5%. So that's actually quite positive. And Adobe, actually, let's have a quick look at Adobe, which I do track on a regular basis. But at the moment, it was actually at 255. But it has done that quite a few times. And these are my position in what my thoughts are, that these are short-term buyers pumping the stock up by $5 or $6 for the day and then dumping it by the end of the day. So I wouldn't be surprised if that goes back down to 250, 249 by end of play today. Still, if it can stay above 250, I'll be happy at the moment, considering the news of last week was the CEO leaving and no replacement as yet. So that is something that obviously is quite concerning me as a shareholder. And I've had a thought about this morning. I did mention that it was a bit weird, the fact that they didn't actually replace the CEO or haven't even somebody lined up for it. I haven't found any names at the moment of anybody that would replace this CEO who's been around for 18 years. So I a little bit concerned as a shareholder that is the case, that it's not been done and dusted. But let's watch that space and see what happens. I'm in it anyway, long hold, just due to my losses at the moment on that stock. So I have absolutely no choice but to see what will happen next and stand by the stock. So there we go. So in terms of alarms, not much happening today. I think Goldman Sachs was back at 800 and it's dropped back. Visa obviously 310's dropped back. NatWest struggling for any direction in the UK. That's the one I'm tracking from the UK at the moment. I think it's a great stock, but at the moment, with the way things are with the UK economically, I'm not sure if it's worth going in as yet. It has gone up over 700 at one stage, so we soon find out. Apple's moved up a bit. LVMH has obviously struggled as well with what's going on, globally. KKR, I've not really moved on KKR. That's always an alarm. So there we go. So nothing much there on that one. In terms of all the other companies, which I will do an analysis on, as I said, Sprout not moved that much, about an 80 mark. United Healthcare has moved up in the green, again, minimally. And Microsoft still under 400, amazingly, and it hasn't recouped as yet. And it's still some heavy selling against Microsoft for various different reasons. Potentially, I suppose, more than ever on the CapEx spending. But it seems like all the stocks are struggling at the moment in terms of the big seven still. Amazon, as you can see, still at 210. Let's Dell, I'm looking at Dell, they're still on the up. Again, nothing really much happening on that side of it at this stage. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I think I covered a lot of it in the first show this morning. I'm not going to bore you to death with anything else at the moment that's newsworthy. I think you guys can probably find out. I'm always here just to kind of help in case you haven't had the chance to find for the day or you've been busy. I will be back tomorrow. Now, tomorrow's one will be a quick recap on news, but it will be the analysis, hopefully. As I said, I'm going to go down to one show a day. I think it's easier for in terms of going forward, just to condense it in one show. And let's see how that pans out. If you guys want it to be 2 shows, please leave comments below. If you want it to be one big show, please leave comments below, or any comments. Yeah, I've not had any comments as yet. Viewership has been good. A little bit, obviously it's a new show. Nobody knows me yet. But it's people are starting to view me, between 12 and 40 people at the moment. So, hey, listen, it's better than nothing. As I said before, this is quite cathartic for me. I'm doing this as well for you guys if you're there, as well as very much for me, just to recap on the day, which actually helps me to kind of get my thoughts together by just having to do the prep work for this show and talking about it. So I think sometimes that really helps. So for me, it's a win-win. Whatever happens, we'll give it a good try and see where all this goes in the long run. As I said, I'm here to help in terms of my experience, what I've been up to. I am what I would call probably myself a bit more of a value investor, although I'm not a 5-10 year investor. I'm pretty much anything between 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 6 months to even a year. Adobe I've had for nearly 9 months. So I am this kind of in-between middle of a value investor, but also if a chance comes up in terms of trade with oil, like you just seen, hedging my bets on that a bit more, that's probably what this is all about as well. I do actually, no BS. I'm very transparent about what I make and lose, what my highs and lows are, which I've been for the last 11 years since I was on and off trading. I've not been doing this full time, obviously. I have got another career in the film business, although that is pretty quiet at the moment. So, I'm kind of loving doing this. And if it helps a few people along the way, amazing. But like I said, it's all about really my system that I've put in place over the years that I've collaged together and put together as a puzzle from Phil Town's book, where the 4 M's and the intrinsic price, a mixture of Warren Buffett, Phil Town, which I've really liked in terms of how they do things in terms of trading, and other value investors I've followed along the way, to maybe even a little bit more short term, where some people look at certain situation in terms of commodities, as I did with oil. So there you go. So that's me. Anyway, hope you will have I don't think we'll see a lot more happening today. I think, like I said, it's been a green day, so happy days. Let's move on to tomorrow's trading. Like I said, hopefully we'll be back with one show for tomorrow, and also some analysis on the 5 stocks that I think might be a buy. So until then, please subscribe and like. It's Trader72. It's over and out. Take care, guys.